I think one of the main things that brands have to really consider when they want to become socially responsible is, first of all, are you intrinsically motivated enough to do so? Because it's going to be a long process and you have to be vulnerable and you really have to be able to put in the work. So I think it is really a question that you should ask yourself, like, are you ready for this journey?
For me, the most important first social step that a brand has to take is become more transparent again, because it's very important for me as a consumer. If I don't know what I'm contributing to with my money and what situation I'm supporting with, I would never buy from a brand again, actually. And I think a good example of transparency, or how it's being used as a brand, is GreenUP. It's kind of one of my favorite brands, actually, because they don't only show amazing products, but they also share a lot of stories, not only about materials, but also about their suppliers and who they work with. And they show that they are super proud that they are actually co-creating instead of just producing somewhere. And I think giving a stage to who you work with in the entire supply chain, is a beautiful example of how brands can be more transparent. And GreenUP is also a FairWare member, so to me as a consumer, it's not only about the stories they tell about themselves, but I can also check the brand performance report every year, so I know that it's not only pretty stories, but it's actually the truth that they are telling. So.
Solo Group has gained more insight, more understanding in social and safety matters through assessments, audits conducted by FairWare. When searching for new suppliers or new production countries, Solo Group is using a risk-based assessment to evaluate the risks linked to the new production country or to the new factory. We have learned to look for signs of violence, harassment, including sexual harassment. What are the points you need to look for? How can you see this? What can lead to it? Together with FairWare, Solo Group cooperated, established an anti-harassment committee in the factories, and committees set up in order to avoid harassment.
Of course, we need in the European Parliament a majority for due diligence legislation, and some people, colleagues, are quite hesitant because they say, too difficult, can you really look into the whole of the supply chain? So I think if those brands who are in favor of due diligence legislation, if NGOs and if individuals are raising the voice, pleading for a good legislation at the European level, that's helpful to get a majority at the European level.
Armed Angels, for instance, has been a client of us for 9 years, and they're such a beautiful example of a brand that we have seen and also helped grow. They're willing to learn in every field, I think it's really beautiful to see how Armed Angels has grown as a brand and also in their purpose. And they really never accept anything to be good enough from themselves. And sometimes that's tough to work with, but it's also really nice because we have the same mission. I truly, truly believe they're intrinsically motivated to do the right thing and to make a difference and to really have an impact.
There's many things brands can do, but I think the most important and the easiest is to become an active FairWare member brand and really be involved. More transparency, more traceability. Not only in the last year and in the production, in the CMT, but this throughout the supply chain. This also means transparency, clarity, traceability in where is the fabric produced, how, yarn production, even going all the way to raw materials.
Yeah, well, I think as consumers we have the responsibility to do our homework at least, and also use our wallet to vote for a positive change. And I think if most of the consumers would demand for ethical fashion, brands would work 1,000 times harder to improve the well-being of their workers. I'm totally sure about that. And I also feel like that we should ask more questions as consumers, both through email but also publicly, addressing the lack of transparency and unethical practices. And I think the more we speak up as consumers, the more brands will be willing to change. So I think we should use our voice more often, and I really feel like it's our responsibility as well.